Hi friends, I am Professor Girish Kukreja, Head Department of Microbiology at New Arts, Commerce and Science College, Ahmednagar, here with you to discuss the syllabus for TYBSc Microbiology, the course MB333 Enzymology. The course structure, like we'll have just an overview about what are the contents of the syllabus and what you will be learning throughout this semester in this course of enzymology. Now this enzymes, we had a brief introduction of this enzyme when we were at SYBSc level. We'll in this course, in this semester, we'll have a detailed discussion about this particular subject of microbiology, that is enzymology. We'll first have an introduction again to these enzymes. We'll study the various ways by which we determine the amino acids which are present at the active site. We know the pockets where the substrate it binds the enzyme is called as the active site. Many times we are interested to know what are the amino acids which are present at the active site. So what are the various physical and chemical means by which we can easily determine which are these commonly occurring amino acids at the active site. We'll have an overview of detection of these amino acids which are present at the active site. Then we'll study the role of cofactors in metabolism. We know that enzymes, they work with the help of coenzymes, certain cofactors. We'll study the occurrence, the structure and biochemical functions of these various cofactors, most of which are the B complex vitamins, right? We'll also have a view Hi friends, I am Professor Girish Kukreja, Head Department of Microbiology at New Arts, Commerce Science College, Ahmednagar, here with you to discuss the syllabus of MB333 Enzymology of TYBSc Microbiology syllabus of Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune. We'll have just an overview of the contents of the syllabus, what we are going to actually study in this entire semester in this particular course of enzymology of TYBSc Microbiology. Now, when we are talking about enzymology, we'll first have a short introduction about the structure of the enzyme. These biocatalysts, which are the major players in the entire metabolism. We'll try to understand the structure of this active site. We'll try to understand what are the various amino acids that are present at these active sites. By various physical and chemical methods, how we can deduce that which are the amino acids which are present at these active sites. This knowledge helps a great deal in manipulating these enzymes. With this, we'll study the role of various cofactors in metabolism. We have studied in our earlier classes that enzyme, like a total enzyme, the protein part, the apoenzyme, the non-protein part, the coenzyme, the cofactor, the prosthetic group. We'll try to analyze what are the differences between these, and we'll study the structure and biochemical structure of various cofactors, most of which are vitamins belonging to the B complex group. We'll have the study of niacin, that is the nicotinic acid, the pyrimidine nucleotides, which are the derivatives of these, which are derived from these nicotinic acid, the NAD, the NADH, how they are the carriers of hydride ions, right? So we'll have an overview of this niacin. We'll have an overview of thiamine and its coenzyme form, the TPP, the thiamine pyrophosphate. We'll study riboflavin and the flavin nucleotides, the FMN, the FAD, which are the carriers of the hydrogen atoms, the various dehydrogenases, right? We know some dehydrogenases, they use NAD, some of them they use FAD. We'll be studying about pyridoxal phosphate, the vitamin B6, the pyridoxal, the pyridoxamine phosphate, pyridoxal phosphate, how they are involved in various reactions, the enzymes which require this pyridoxal, we call it as PLP requiring enzymes. So what are the various reactions in which this PLP is required, like it is required in the amino group transfer reactions. So we'll have an overview about this pyridoxine. We'll be talking about pantothenic acid, which forms the part of the popular coenzyme A. We look at its structure, its biochemical function of this coenzyme A, and then we'll have an overview of various metal ions which serve as cofactors. We know various enzymes, they require iron, they require copper, they require magnesium. So we'll try to understand the role of these metal ions in these enzyme catalyzed reaction. We'll try to study these some of metalloenzymes. We'll then move forward towards the assay of the enzyme. Like in a given solution, we would like to know whether a particular enzyme is present or not. If it is present in how much amount, right? For that, we go for what is called as enzyme assay. So we'll try to understand the principles of the enzyme assay. What are the precautions? What are the general methodologies? The two basic ways by which we perform the enzyme assay. That is the sampling method, the continuous assay method. We'll try to understand that what are the differences, what are the advantages and disadvantages of these methods. Then we'll go for some specific assay method. One of the simplest assay method commonly used in most of the laboratories, that is the spectrophotometric method, right? So we'll try to understand what are the laws of this spectrophotometry, how we can use this spectrophotometric method to analyze a particular or assay a particular enzyme. We'll study all these assay methods with help of specific examples. We'll go for spectrofluorometric method. Like in spectrophotometric method, we measured the absorbance. In spectrofluorometric method, we'll be measuring the fluorescence, right? How much amount of substrate was gone and how much amount of product is formed. That will be the focus. Then we'll go for radioisotopic methods. Various radioisotopes, they have found wide applications in biology. So we'll be talking about the various radioisotopic methods which can be used to assay a particular enzyme. Here we'll try to emphasize that how gaseous reactants and products especially, they are more important in this radioisotopic assay method. Then we'll go for knowing the basic principles and basic methods of purifying these enzymes. So we'll study the principles and methods of enzyme purification. In here we'll have a focus like why we are purifying the enzyme, where the enzyme is present, how much enzyme we want, for what purpose we are purifying the enzyme, what are the precautions we are going to take during purification of these enzymes, right? So we'll have a general overview, the general principles of this enzyme purification. Most of the enzymes which we study, they are intracellular, for which we need to fractionate the cells. So we'll try to study the methods of cell fractionation, how we are going to break out the cell, how we are going to separate out these components of these cells, and then we are going to see the purification of the enzyme. We can use various parameters to purify these enzymes. So we'll be talking about purification based on its molecular size, where we can use SDS page, we can use gel filtration, that is the molecular exclusion chromatography, we can go for dialysis. So various ways which are based on molecular size, various ways which are based on charge, like the movement of the molecule in the electric field, which we call as electrophoresis, the isoelectric focusing based on its pi value, the ion exchange chromatography, right? So cation exchanger, anion exchanger, how they can be used, how the molecules can be eluted from these columns. So we'll be studying the separation based on charge. Based on solubility differences, right? Different molecules, they are soluble in different solvents, in water at different ways, like different molecules, they also what you call as affect the various ways by which these molecules are soluble. So here we'll be talking about ammonium sulfate precipitation, solvent precipitation. So how we can use these simple methods in our laboratory to purify and precipitate partially our enzymes. Then we'll be talking about separation based on specific binding property. Here we'll be specifically defining ligands, which are the various ligands which can be used. We'll be talking about affinity chromatography based on selective adsorption. So we'll be talking about adsorption chromatography. So different types of chromatographies probably we'll be studying in this what you call as separation of these enzymes. Once these enzymes are purified, we would like to determine whether really these enzymes have been purified. We need to have certain criteria. For exemplar purposes, we'll be using only one or two criteria. We'll be studying, like we can use the criteria for purity, that is the SDS page, the ultracentrifugation. So methods which we use for purification can also be used to detect that how much pure this particular enzyme solution is. Then we can go for construction of purification chart, where we'll know the various what you call as components which are used in construction of purification chart. We'll define certain terms like specific activity, the total activity, the yield, the purification factor, and how these are calculated and how it is determined that how much pure our enzyme has become from the initial crude extract. Once we have this purified extract, we would like to know more about this enzyme. So we'll be talking about characterization of the enzyme. We can determine the molecular weight of this purified enzyme. So we'll be studying the various ways by which we can determine the molecular weight. We can determine the molecular weight of enzyme by using ultracentrifugation. We can do this by SDS page. We can also do this by gel filtration. So we come to know that what is the molecular weight of this particular enzyme. Then we'll be talking about the effect of various parameters, the two which we'll be studying, that is the effect of pH and temperature on the activity of the enzyme. With this, we'll move towards the kinetics. Now, as the name suggests, like enzyme kinetics, we'll be having some equations, we'll be having some graphs. So don't bother much. As we go unit by unit, the things are going to be simple, they are interesting. So stay tuned with us. So in this section of enzyme kinetics, we'll be studying first the use of initial velocity. Like what exactly initial velocity is, how the velocity of the enzyme, the rate of the reaction is dependent on the concentration of the substrate initially, how later on it becomes independent. The famous Michaelis-Menten equation we'll be using to derive the initial velocity equation. We'll be talking about the equilibrium approach which was used by this Michaelis-Menten. Then we'll be talking about the Briggs-Haldane approach which was used, that is the steady state approach. We'll derive the initial velocity equation, the famous V0 is equal to Vmax into S upon Km plus S. And we'll be talking about the MM plot, the famous Michaelis-Menten plot. The various constants which we get here, we'll be defining them. We'll be understanding their significance, that is the significance of Km, significance of Ks, Vmax, what exactly they mean and what is their significance in these enzyme kinetics. Apart from this hyperbolic curve of V versus S, which is very common, various other plots are used by various enzymologists. So we'll be having an overview on this double reciprocal plot, that is the Lineweaver and Burke plot, the Haynes plot. We'll derive the equations for these plots, the Eadie-Hofsey plot, and we'll try to define the axis, the y-axis and the x-axis of these plots, the Eisenthal-Cornish-Bowden plot. And then we'll just have an overview of the various types of inhibitors, right? We have reversible inhibitors, the irreversible inhibitors, the competitive inhibitors, the uncompetitive inhibitor, the non-competitive inhibitor. We'll try to understand like where these inhibitors they bind, what do they affect, whether they affect the Km, whether they affect the Vmax, whether they affect the both. So that we'll try to like just have a conceptual idea of these different types of reversible inhibitors. Then we'll talk about regulation. We talked about like enzymes, how they are purified, how they are assayed. We studied their kinetics. Now how these enzymes they are regulating the entire metabolism. So various ways and means by which the cells they regulate the metabolism, right? That is the need. You don't want all the kind of reactions going on inside the cell at a time. Sometimes you want some reactions going on fast. Sometimes you want some reactions going on slow. Sometimes you want certain reactions to stop. So how it is regulated? So various ways by which is done. Like we'll be talking about enzyme compartmentation, how these enzymes are compartmentalized at the cellular level. We'll be talking about allosteric enzyme, right, which do not follow this MM kinetics, which have positive modulators, negative modulators. So sometimes substrate itself acts as a modulator, sometimes modulators are different than the substrate. So different types of allosteric enzymes, right, where they have an active site and they also have a allosteric site. The feedback mechanisms in a simple pathway, in a branched pathway, then how enzyme manages itself to what you call as cope up with a situation where one of its product is more and other product is less. So various ways of what is called as this feedback inhibition mechanism. So we'll have an overview of these mechanisms. Another way by which enzyme is modulated is adding a particular group, removing a particular group, covalently attaching it, right? You attach an adenyl group, you attach a phosphate group, you remove a phosphate group, make the enzyme active, attach a phosphate group or make an enzyme active. So we'll be talking about covalent modulation of these enzymes. We'll be specifically talking about the glycogen phosphorylase, the enzyme that is involved in degradation of this glycogen. We'll talk about proteolytic activation. We'll be talking about how the enzyme is activated after it is cleaved a bit. So we'll be talking about various certain digestive enzymes, some blood clotting factors, like they belong to this class. So we'll be talking about these zymogens. We'll define zymogens and what are its active forms. So we'll study this proteolytic activation. Isoenzyme, enzymes which differ in their various properties, but they are catalyzing the same reaction. So we'll try to understand with specific examples like how are these isoenzymes made, Sometimes the genes which are coding them, they are different. Sometimes the subunits which are there, they are different. So we'll have some specific examples like that of LDH, that is the lactate dehydrogenase, and we'll try to understand this concept of isoenzymes and why exactly the cell it requires these enzymes which are catalyzing the same reaction. We'll be talking about the multi-enzyme complexes. One of the famous complexes here we'll be discussing is your PDH, the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Many enzymes coming together and catalyzing a reaction which is going on in a sequential way. So we'll be talking about this multi-enzyme complexes and how it helps to speed up the rate of this reaction. Then we'll go to the application part, like there are many cases where we immobilize this enzyme, attach it to a particular what you call as a carrier molecule so that the enzyme can be reused. So what are the various means? Some of them are what you call as very methods which are very what you call as they hold the enzyme and the carrier very tightly. Sometimes the bonding it is weak. So we'll try to see like which are the various methods, some physical methods, chemical methods. We'll try to explore this concept of immobilization. We'll try to understand the various methods, the entrapment, the absorption, the covalent binding method, the encapsulation method, the cross-linking method. We'll try to like summarize what are the advantages and disadvantages, and in which case you can go for enzyme immobilization and in which case you can go for cell immobilization as such. So we'll be talking about overview of this immobilization and we'll throw some light on applications of these immobilized enzymes. They have found wide applications these days. So we'll be talking about the applications of these immobilized enzymes. So don't get panicked. Like this is just an overview of the syllabus. As I told, that is going to be simple. It is going to be interesting. So stay tuned with us to have unit by unit what you call as discussion on these sections. So if you want some specific concepts to be discussed here with me, you can drop your message in the comment, and you can find me on Facebook and find me on Insta. Thank you and stay tuned with us.